What if one quiet morning, God chose to speak, not through thunder, not through angels, but through a dog? It happened on a crowded subway in Hawthorne when Officer Noah's canine partner, Atlas, suddenly froze. People thought it was nothing, just another police dog acting strange. But then a little boy's trembling hand tapped 5 times on his mother's back, a silent cry no one else heard. What Atlas did next would uncover a secret so dark and a miracle so powerful that it would remind the world faith doesn't always shout. Sometimes it listens. Stay till the end, because this isn't just a story about a dog. It's about how God still works through the hearts that listen. Before we begin, tell me, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments below. The morning heat from the subway tunnels rose like a metallic breath, coating the air with a faint scent of oil, dust, and pretzels. It was rush hour beneath the heart of Hawthorne, Massachusetts, a city that looked graceful on postcards but breathed differently underground. There, the Magnolia Line pulsed with life, commuters clutching paper cups, a saxophone humming a lonely tune, and a million hurried footsteps echoing off the tiled walls. Officer Noah Grant, age 36, moved through the crowd with the quiet precision of a man who'd seen too much chaos to ever rush again. His frame was solid, lean muscle wrapped in the navy of his transit police uniform. He had storm gray eyes, calm yet watchful, and a trimmed beard flecked with faint gray that made him look older than his years. The scar across his left brow wasn't from battle. It was from a house fire he'd barely escaped as a rookie, an event that had burned patience into him and carved caution into every gesture. Noah wasn't the kind who shouted orders. He preferred silence, the language of those who've learned that trouble rarely announces itself. Beside him walked Atlas, a 5-year-old German shepherd with fur of dark gold fading into black along his back and eyes the color of old whiskey. Atlas was bred for duty, yet there was something softer in him, a strange wisdom that made civilians smile and hardened officers nod in respect. The patch on his harness read, Police K9, but the gleam in his eyes carried something more ancient, something like faith. He was Noah's partner, his balance, the pulse that reminded him he was still part of something good. They moved through Magnolia Station like two halves of one instinct. Around them, the crowd shifted in constant motion, tourists with rolling suitcases, workers glued to phones, teenagers laughing over iced drinks. Noah's eyes scanned habitually, the slow, the sweating, the nervous, patterns that whispered danger to trained senses. Atlas sniffed the air, tail low, body relaxed yet alert. At the far end of the platform, a street musician, a middle-aged man named Raymond Cole, his once black hair streaked with silver, played the saxophone. His music filled the station with bittersweet nostalgia, drowning in the echoes of trains and footsteps. Ray used to play in bars, back before the accident that took his wife. Now his music was less about money and more about remembering. Noah always dropped a coin when he passed. Today he nodded silently instead. It was, by all appearances, an ordinary morning. Until Atlas stopped. The dog's paws froze mid-stride. His ears twitched, body tightening like a drawn bow. Noah felt the change instantly, years of partnership making the motion as clear as speech. "What is it, boy?" he murmured, tightening the leash slightly. Atlas didn't respond. His gaze had locked onto something beyond the current of people. Noah followed it. Near the ticket turnstile stood a woman, tall, slender, wrapped in a blue coat that hung perfectly pressed despite the humidity. Her hair was chestnut brown, cut into a neat bob that framed a face too composed for morning chaos. She held a large black handbag in the hand of a young boy. The child couldn't have been more than 8. He had light brown hair, an oversized hoodie, and sneakers scuffed at the toes. But what caught Noah wasn't the boy's clothes. It was his eyes, wide, glassy, and darting toward every sound like a bird trapped indoors. Atlas's ears perked higher, his tail stiffened. Noah slowed. "Something off?" he whispered, watching the pair. The woman leaned down, whispering something to the boy. Her expression didn't change, but the boy's hand trembled. Then Noah saw it, a small, almost invisible motion. The boy's fingers tapped against the woman's back, once, twice, thrice. Then again. 5 taps. Pause. 5 taps. The rhythm repeated, subtle, deliberate. No one noticed, but Atlas did. The dog's nostrils flared as if catching a scent not of smell but of emotion. His head tilted slightly, then lowered. A low sound rumbled from his chest. Not aggression, but alertness. Noah's heart ticked faster. "You smell something?" he murmured, crouching slightly, eyes tracking the boy's hands. But Atlas didn't sniff. He simply stared. The woman began moving toward the escalator, her pace quick yet controlled. The boy lagged half a step behind, his free hand twitching like it wanted to reach for someone who wasn't there. Noah hesitated. Experience told him not every tremor was a threat, yet every part of him, the scarred brow, the trained mind, the echo of fire and regret, whispered that this moment was not coincidence. Atlas barked once, sharp, focused, heads turned. The woman froze for a second before forcing a polite smile and turning slightly, as if startled by the noise. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. The boy's did. But it wasn't a smile. It was a flicker of hope. Noah touched the radio on his shoulder but didn't press the button. He didn't want to cause a scene without reason. "Easy, Atlas," he said quietly, though his grip on the leash had tightened. The dog's fur bristled along his spine, amber eyes locked on the pair. The train thundered into the station, wind whipping through the platform. For a moment, chaos swallowed everything. Commuters surging forward, announcements blaring, Ray's saxophone bending into dissonant echoes. But amid the blur of motion, the boy looked back again. Their eyes met. It was only a second, but Noah felt it. A plea, fragile and wordless. Atlas sensed it too. He let out another low growl, the kind that came from instinct, not training. Noah's chest tightened. He looked at the boy, then at the woman. Her hand tightened around the boy's arm, a bit too hard, pulling him forward toward the train. "Something's wrong," Noah said under his breath. He stepped. Closer, weaving through the crowd, his voice steady but calm. "Ma'am, excuse me." The woman turned sharply, her eyes narrowing just for a heartbeat before softening again. "Officer, is there a problem?" she asked with feigned concern. Her voice was smooth, practiced, but there was a tremor underneath. Noah smiled politely, masking his own suspicion. "Routine check, ma'am. We had an alert earlier about unattended baggage." She shook her head quickly. "Oh, nothing like that here. We're just trying to catch our train." Noah nodded, but Atlas took one step forward, planting himself between them and the platform edge. His growl deepened, controlled yet firm. The boy's small chest rose and fell rapidly now. Tears glistened at the edge of his lashes. He wanted to speak, but fear sealed his mouth shut. "Atlas," Noah said softly, "what are you telling me?" The train doors slid open with a metallic sigh. People poured in and out. The woman tugged the boy forward again, her voice tight. "Come along, Milo." The name clung in Noah's mind. Milo. Atlas didn't move. His paws stayed planted, every muscle alive with unspoken urgency. Noah looked down at his partner, then up at the woman again, and that was when he saw it. On the inside of her wrist, barely visible beneath her sleeve, was a faint tattoo of coordinates, numbers he recognized instantly from a recent bulletin about missing children linked to interstate movement. The saxophone's final note faded. Noah's heart dropped. "Ma'am," he said, voice lower now, "I'm going to need you to stop right there." The woman's eyes flickered. First confusion, then calculation. Milo froze, his small hand trembling harder than before. The crowd was moving again, unaware that in the middle of the subway platform, a silent battle had begun between a predator, a protector, and a child who had just dared to hope. The train's warning bell chimed, steam hissed, Noah's radio crackled faintly. Atlas's growl turned into a bark, fierce and clear, and for a heartbeat, time in Magnolia Station stood perfectly still. For a heartbeat, Magnolia Station stood suspended between the rush of trains and the stillness of a revelation. The lights flickered, and the hum of the tunnel turned metallic, echoing against the tiled walls. Officer Noah Grant's fingers tightened around the leash as Atlas leaned forward, muscles coiled beneath his dark coat. The dog's low growl rolled through the air like thunder waiting for release. He never growled without purpose. Years of partnership had taught Noah that Atlas's instincts were sacred, the kind of truth you didn't question. The woman, Rhea Dalton, blinked rapidly, her calm beginning to crack. Her blue coat caught the fluorescent light, highlighting the slight tremor in her hands. Her face, previously composed, was pale beneath a layer of foundation. The faint smudge of mascara at the corner of her eye hinted at sleepless nights or a conscience unraveling. She tried to smile, to anchor herself in control. "Officer," she said, her voice almost too steady, "you're scaring my son." Noah's gaze flicked to the boy. Milo's small frame trembled. His light brown hair clung to his forehead, and his lips parted as if wanting to speak but afraid to break whatever rule kept him silent. "I don't think he's afraid of me," Noah said softly, the edge of compassion in his tone. He crouched slightly, lowering himself to Milo's level. "Hey, kiddo, you okay?" Milo's eyes darted to Rhea. She shook her head imperceptibly, a motion so subtle most would have missed it. But Atlas didn't. The dog's ears flattened, his stance lowering, eyes trained on Rhea's tightening grip on Milo's arm. Noah's voice changed, deepening with quiet authority. "Ma'am, I'll need you to open your bag." Her shoulders tensed. "Excuse me?" "Standard security procedure," Noah said calmly, though his pulse was pounding. "You're making my partner nervous. Let's make this quick." For a second, the subway lights dimmed as a train screeched into the station, sending a gust of hot air through the crowd. Raymond Cole, the old saxophonist, struck up a new tune, "Don't Stop Believin'," his oblivious optimism twisting the tension into dark irony. Rhea's eyes darted around, measuring exits. The crowd had begun to slow, curiosity replacing motion. Somewhere above, a loudspeaker cracked with a static announcement. "Attention passengers, expect brief delays on the Magnolia Line." Noah gestured to an approaching transit officer, a younger man named Evan Morales, tall and slightly lanky, with a kind face and a buzz cut that failed to hide the boyish worry beneath his professionalism. Evan was new, only 6 months into duty, still believing the world could be neatly divided between right and wrong. He jogged up, confusion already in his expression. "What's going on, sir?" "Possible abduction or trafficking attempt," Noah said under his breath. "Stay alert and stay calm." Evan's jaw tightened. He glanced at Rhea, then at Milo, whose small fingers still clutched the strap of his backpack like a lifeline. "Ma'am," Noah repeated, "your bag." The pause that followed felt longer than it was. Finally, Rhea exhaled, feigning indignation. "Fine, but this is ridiculous." She knelt, setting the bag on the ground with deliberate slowness. As she unzipped it, Atlas leaned forward, nostrils twitching. His tail stiffened. Noah knew that sign. He'd seen it when Atlas sniffed out narcotics, weapons, even a body once buried under snow. The scent wasn't what mattered. It was intent. Inside the bag lay the ordinary chaos of travel. Snack wrappers, a folded sweater, a child's water bottle. But tucked between the clothes was something wrapped in duct tape. Rhea reached for it first. Noah's hand stopped her mid-motion. "Let me." He unwrapped the layer, exposing a cheap prepaid phone, taped shut. No SIM card, the kind of phone used when people didn't want to be found. His stomach sank. Beneath it were multiple IDs, each with different names but the same face, Rhea's. Some with different hair colors, some listing states halfway across the country. Evan whistled softly. "That's not standard luggage." Before Noah could respond, Rhea's composure shattered. "We're done here," she snapped, grabbing Milo's wrist. "Come on, sweetheart." "Stop!" Noah ordered, but she was already moving, pushing through the crowd, dragging the boy toward the turnstiles. Atlas lunged before Noah could. The leash snapped taut, slicing the air. He surged sideways, cutting Rhea's path with surgical precision. His body became a living barricade, fur bristling, eyes blazing gold under the harsh light. People gasped, stepping back. The sound of Ray's saxophone faltered into a discordant squeal. "Control your dog!" Rhea shouted, voice cracking under panic. "He's not the one losing control," Noah replied evenly, hand steady on the leash. "Step back, ma'am." Milo stumbled, nearly falling. Atlas immediately shifted his weight, positioning himself between the child and Rhea. That protective instinct, quiet but absolute, told Noah everything. Rhea tried one last bluff, trembling voice cracking. "You don't understand. I'm protecting him." Noah's voice softened but stayed firm. "Then help me protect him too. Talk to me." But Rhea didn't answer. The overhead lights flickered again, a short power surge making the shadows dance. Milo's face lit pale in the strobe of failing fluorescence. His lips moved, 2 words, silent but unmistakable. "Help us." Noah's pulse thundered in his ears. He lifted his radio, finally breaking protocol silence. Dispatch, this is Grant, Magnolia Station. I need immediate backup. Possible child endangerment, code 7. Rhea froze. Her eyes darted toward the far stairwell where the emergency exit glowed red. Noah saw the calculation cross her. Face a second too late. She dropped the bag and bolted. "Milo!" Noah shouted. Atlas moved like lightning, pivoting off his hind legs and sprinting. The crowd parted instinctively. His paws hammered against tile, claws clicking sharp and rhythmic. He closed the gap before she'd reached the stairs, leaping sideways to block her again. Rhea stumbled back, almost falling. Her purse spilled open, scattering photographs across the floor, grainy shots of children, all taken from a distance, each with fear frozen in their eyes. Evan caught up, eyes widening. "Jesus!" Noah's voice dropped low. "She's not his mother." The station had gone silent now, except for the hum of the stalled train. Rhea stood panting, shoulders shaking, cornered between two officers and one unrelenting shepherd. Her blue coat, immaculate minutes ago, was smeared with dust. Tears streaked through her makeup. "You don't know what they'll do if I talk," she whispered. Noah stepped closer, empathy fighting suspicion. "Then start with who they are." She looked up, eyes wild. "You're already too late." Before Noah could respond, the station lights dimmed again, and from above came a faint metallic clang, a signal of another train pulling in. The timing felt wrong, too soon, too deliberate. Rhea's gaze snapped upward toward the sound, panic flooding her features. Noah followed her line of sight and saw a man standing near the upper balcony watching. Tall, dark jacket, face half hidden by the shadows. He wasn't part of the crowd. He wasn't moving. "Evan," Noah murmured, "get the kid out of here." Evan nodded quickly, grabbing Milo's hand, ushering him behind a pillar. The boy resisted for a second, eyes locked on Atlas, who stood unmoving between danger and safety. The man on the balcony turned. The train screeched into the platform, drowning out every other noise. By the time the light cleared, the shadowed figure was gone. Rhea's voice trembled. "You shouldn't have stopped me. You don't understand." Noah's jaw tightened. "Then help me understand." But she just shook her head, whispering something under her breath, words lost in the roar of the train before her knees gave out and she collapsed, sobbing. Atlas stood over her, silent and steady, as if guarding both truth and guilt. Noah exhaled slowly, his heart pounding not from fear, but from the creeping sense that whatever had just unfolded was only the surface of something much darker moving beneath the city. The radio crackled again. "Backup inbound. ETA 2 minutes. Noah looked toward the balcony one last time, but it was empty. The hum of the rails echoed through the cavern, and somewhere behind him, Milo whispered to Evan, "He's still watching us." The emergency command post had been set up in one of Magnolia Station's disused maintenance rooms. The air was thick with the smell of metal, oil, and damp concrete. Overhead lights flickered, their buzzing hum mixing with the low murmur of radios and the tapping of keyboards. It was past midnight now, and the crowds had long dispersed, leaving only the echo of trains in the tunnels above. Noah Grant stood over a folding table cluttered with evidence bags, his uniform jacket unbuttoned, sleeves rolled up. The fatigue in his eyes was deep, but sharper still was the fire of understanding that came only when a pattern began to reveal itself. He wasn't just chasing a woman anymore. He was unearthing an operation. On the table lay the prepaid phone from Rhea Dalton's bag, its casing cracked open and taped in a way that screamed secrecy. A technician, Nina Walsh, was bent over it, her hand steady despite the late hour. She was in her mid-30s, a compact woman with sharp hazel eyes and cropped black hair that barely reached her collar. Her nails were short, her expression sharper still. Someone who had lived too many nights inside command centers chasing ghosts through data trails. A small scar on her neck hinted at an old accident, a fire in a data lab that had taken a colleague and left her distrustful of coincidences. She looked up briefly at Noah. "You were right about her," she said. The phone signal bounced through 3 relay points. Whoever she's working with knows how to vanish. Noah leaned closer, but not well enough. Nina smirked faintly. "Not tonight." Her fingers danced across the keyboard. On the screen, lines of data scrolled faster than the eye could follow until one coordinate blinked into view, a location on the outskirts of the city. Warehouse District, Riverside Industrial Park. At the mention, Captain Howard Mercer, the precinct's operations commander, stepped closer. Mercer was a man in his late 50s, tall and broad-shouldered, with the look of someone carved from granite. His gray hair was cut military short, and a jagged scar along his jaw made him appear perpetually stern. Once a soldier in Afghanistan, he'd brought that battlefield focus into law enforcement. People called him Iron Howard, though those close to him knew the steel was forged from loss. His son, a rookie officer, had died on duty 3 years prior. "Riverside," Mercer said grimly. "I know that place. It used to be a shipping hub before the floods took out half the power grid. Perfect for off-grid operations." He looked to Noah. "You sure about this?" Noah nodded. Milo said others were waiting for their next train. He wasn't talking about the subway. Mercer's jaw flexed. "Then we don't waste time. Morales, you're with Grant. Walsh, keep the feed open. I want eyes on that location." "Copy that," Nina replied, plugging in a second monitor. At the far corner of the room, Milo sat on a bench wrapped in a gray blanket too big for his small shoulders. He looked even smaller now under the fluorescent light, pale and hollow-eyed, but awake. Beside him, a female detective, Detective Sarah Quinn, sat quietly, jotting notes in her leather-bound pad. Sarah was in her early 40s, with auburn hair tied neatly at the nape and eyes that carried both warmth and weariness. Her voice, when she spoke to Milo, was soft but sure, the tone of someone who'd talked dozens of frightened children through horrors adults could barely name. "You did very brave tonight, Milo," she said gently. "Can you tell me again what you heard Rhea say before you got to the station?" Milo fidgeted with the hem of his blanket. "She said we'd meet others soon, that we were going to be a family. But the others didn't come back." Sarah's pen paused. "Did she say where?" He shook his head, tears welling. "She said there was a warehouse. She called it the Riverside Stop." Sarah met Noah's eyes across the room and nodded slightly. The lead was real. Noah crouched down in front of the boy, resting a hand on the bench. "You did good, kiddo. We're going to find them, I promise." Atlas, lying near the door, raised his head as if understanding the gravity of the moment. The dog's amber eyes glinted beneath the flickering light. He stretched, stood, and padded over to Noah's side. His thick fur rippled as he sat, tail brushing the floor with quiet patience. Noah placed a hand on the dog's neck, whispering, "Ready to work again, partner?" The only reply was the faint thump of a tail, the unspoken signal between them since the first day of training. Mercer barked orders. "Gear up, team. 2 units. Quiet approach. No sirens. We go in dark and fast." The small task force began to move, officers suiting up, checking radios, sliding clips into place. Evan Morales, still shaken from the confrontation earlier, joined Noah near the equipment rack. He adjusted his vest with trembling hands. Noah noticed. "You holding up, Morales?" Evan gave a nervous laugh. "First week on night duty and I walk into a kidnapping ring. I'm fine, sir. Just trying to remember to breathe." "You'll be fine," Noah said, handing him a flashlight. "Just follow Atlas. He won't get you lost." Minutes later, the convoy rolled out of the underground parking lot, headlights dimmed. The streets of Hawthorne were half empty, slick with drizzle that shimmered beneath the streetlights. The hum of engines filled the silence between thoughts. In the back of the lead SUV, Noah sat with Atlas, fingers brushing the fur behind the dog's ear. "Find," he whispered softly. Atlas's ears twitched, understanding. As they neared Riverside Industrial Park, the scenery shifted. Rows of warehouses, rusted fences, graffiti bleeding down cracked walls. A half-burned billboard loomed ahead, its faded lettering still visible. "Riverside Logistics, moving what matters." "Pull over," Noah ordered. The vehicles went dark. The officers disembarked, weapons low, flashlights off. Only the rain whispered over the asphalt. Atlas moved ahead, guided by scent and silence. The faint glow of security lights flickered near one of the warehouses. Nina's voice crackled over the comms. "Thermal drone shows minimal movement inside. 3 heat signatures. Could be hostiles or victims." "Copy that," Noah whispered. He signaled to Morales to circle left. Mercer stayed by the van, radio in hand, directing backup to stage 2 blocks out. Noah pressed closer to the wall, listening. A faint hum, generator noise. Then a sound more distinct, a child's cough. He turned to Atlas, whispered, "Confirm." The dog crept forward, nose to the air, then froze, head cocked, one sharp look over his shoulder. "They're inside," Noah said quietly into the mic. But before they could move, A new voice came over the radio, male, distorted, calm. "You shouldn't be here, Officer Grant." Noah's blood went cold. He looked at Mercer, whose expression hardened. "Who is this?" Mercer demanded. The voice chuckled. "You already met one of ours tonight. Pity she talked." The signal cut out. The warehouse lights flicked on, blinding in the darkness. Atlas barked once, sharp and furious. From somewhere inside came the scrape of metal, the unmistakable sound of a door locking from within. Noah's instincts screamed. He turned to Morales. "Breach formation, now!" As the team lined up, the radio crackled again, softer this time. A child's voice, Milo's. "Officer Grant? He's here. The man from the station. He said you'll never find us all." The signal dissolved into static. Noah's stomach dropped. Milo wasn't supposed to have a radio. Someone had patched into their line. Mercer's voice cut through the noise. "Grant, we move on my mark. 3, 2... But before he reached one, Atlas lunged forward, ears flat, growling deep. Something was wrong. A scent, a movement, a trap waiting to be sprung. Noah grabbed the leash, ready to follow. The rain fell harder now, and far above, a flash of lightning illuminated the riverside sign again, its last word half torn, as if the city itself was warning them. Moving what matters, or what's been taken. And as they prepared to breach, Noah couldn't shake the feeling that behind that locked door wasn't just a rescue waiting, but a message meant for him. Rain hammered against the metal roofs of Riverside Industrial Park, turning the night into a haze of silver and shadow. The rhythmic drumming of water mixed with the low hum of engines as the convoy of unmarked police vehicles crept toward the warehouse perimeter. Their headlights were dimmed, their radios muted to low frequency. The storm drowned everything. Footsteps, whispered orders, even the beat of fear that pulsed beneath every officer's ribs. Noah Grant crouched behind the lead vehicle, his uniform soaked and heavy, collar darkened by the downpour. Drops ran down his stubble-lined jaw and dripped from the tip of his nose, but his focus never wavered. Ahead, the warehouse loomed like a sleeping giant, its corrugated walls streaked with rust and graffiti, windows boarded over, one corner flickering with the sickly orange of a failing floodlight. The storm's cold bite mingled with the metallic scent of oil and rain. He adjusted his earpiece and whispered, "Team 2, flank the east wall. No lights. Keep comms silent until breach." Beside him, Atlas shifted, muscles rippling beneath his soaked fur. His amber eyes gleamed under the faint light, alert but calm, the steady rhythm of a trained heart. Rainwater clung to his black and gold coat like steel threads. His breath came out in small, visible clouds mixing with the storm's mist. Noah looked at him and smiled grimly. "You know what's coming, huh?" Atlas tilted his head once, a quiet understanding. Behind them, Evan Morales adjusted his rifle nervously, his hands shaking despite the gloves. He had never been part of a live raid before. His youthful face, narrow, clean-shaven, with eyes too honest for what they were about to do, betrayed the rush of adrenaline he tried to hide. "Sir," he whispered, "what if they're armed?" "They will be," Noah said quietly, his tone steady but not unkind. "That's why we move first, and fast." Captain Howard Mercer stood a few meters away, his tall frame outlined against the red flash of a distant lightning bolt. Even drenched, the man carried authority like armor. The scar along his jaw caught the light as he spoke into his shoulder radio, voice low and precise. "Teams 3 and 4, on standby. Grant leads entry. We secure the kids, we contain the suspects, and we walk out together. No hero moves." "Copy," Noah replied. The rain intensified. Lightning flared, followed by a rumbling that shook the pavement beneath their boots. Nina Walsh's voice crackled over the earpiece from the mobile command van several blocks away. "Thermal scan confirms movement. 6 warm bodies inside the main floor, 2 smaller heat signatures in the east wing. That's your entry point." "Roger that," Noah said, then gave the signal. The team moved. Boots splashed through puddles as shadows detached from shadows. They crossed the yard in a tight line, the rain muffling every sound. Atlas led, his nose close to the ground, tail stiff as he followed the invisible trail of human scent through the slick air. They reached the east side of the building, a rusted service door with a broken padlock. Noah tried the handle, locked from the inside. He signaled for a silent breach. A burly officer from Team 2, Sergeant Dean Harker, stepped forward. Dean was in his early 40s, square-jawed, his dark hair streaked with gray, and shoulders broad as a tank. Years of SWAT work had left him with a limp and a cynical grin that rarely faltered. "Old trick," he muttered, pulling a compact crowbar from his belt. With a quick jerk, the lock snapped free. The metal door creaked open an inch, releasing a wave of musty air. Noah peered inside. A narrow corridor stretched into darkness, lined with pipes and dripping valves, part of the old maintenance tunnels that connected the warehouse system beneath Riverside. He nodded to Atlas. "Find." The German shepherd slipped ahead, his paws silent on the wet concrete. His nose twitched, head low, moving from side to side as if painting scent trails through the air. Then he stopped, tail stiff. He looked back, giving a short, low whine, the signal for human presence detected. Noah and Morales moved up. Flashlights flicked on briefly, just enough to reveal a door at the end of the tunnel, reinforced steel, rust bleeding down its hinges. Noah pressed an ear to it. Through the metal, he could hear faint whimpers. His chest tightened. "Kids!" Mercer's voice came over the radio. "Move!" Dean and Morales forced the latch. The door gave way with a groan, revealing a small storage room lit by a single hanging bulb. Inside were 5 children, huddled together in thin blankets, eyes wide with terror. The smallest, a girl with freckles and a torn red hoodie, flinched as the door opened, then burst into tears when she saw Atlas. The shepherd moved slowly, lowering his head, tail wagging once in reassurance. "We're police," Noah said softly, kneeling. "You're safe now." Within minutes, paramedics, led by Nurse Carla Jensen, a sturdy woman in her early 50s with kind gray eyes and a raincoat thrown over scrubs, arrived from the secondary team. She wrapped the children in dry thermal blankets and handed them warm cocoa from the mobile rescue van. Her hands moved with the efficiency of someone who had seen too many emergencies and yet never stopped caring. But peace lasted only seconds. A sound cut through the rain, the deep mechanical growl of an engine turning over. Then headlights flared from the far side of the warehouse yard. "Vehicle!" Morales shouted. A black SUV burst from behind a storage container, fishtailing on the slick asphalt. "Go, Atlas!" Noah yelled. The shepherd launched forward like a bullet, muscles coiling and releasing with raw precision. His paws splashed through puddles as he sprinted straight for the SUV. The driver, a thick-set man with a shaved head and leather gloves, gunned the engine, trying to swerve past, but Atlas leapt, catching the man's sleeve through the open window. The car veered violently, smashing through a chain-link fence before skidding sideways into a drainage ditch. Steam hissed from the crumpled hood. Officers swarmed in. Morales and Harker dragged the driver out. He was in his 40s, built like a boxer gone to seed had, with a jagged scar across his temple and tattoos snaking down his neck. He spat rain and blood, sneering. "You think you stopped it? You don't even know what's coming." Mercer cuffed him with a snap of steel. "We'll see about that." As the suspect was hauled away, Atlas stood panting beside the wreck, soaked but unhurt. Noah knelt, running a hand down the dog's wet fur. "Good boy." But Atlas's head turned suddenly, ears pricking toward the warehouse. He sniffed again, nostrils flaring. His tail rose, body tense. Noah frowned. "What is it, buddy?" The dog moved back toward the building, nose tracing along the wet concrete until he stopped beside a rusted electrical cabinet. The hinges were newer than the others. Noah felt a chill. He signaled Harker over. "Get me a crowbar." With a grunt, Harker pried the cabinet open. Inside, behind coiled wires and fake circuit boards, a small hidden compartment. The air smelled of glue and damp metal. And there, curled up, trembling, eyes wide, was a boy no older than 7. Milo had been right. There was another train. Noah exhaled shakily, reaching in to lift the child out. The boy clung to his neck, shivering. "It's over," Noah whispered. "You're safe." But as thunder rolled across the sky, he looked at the fake circuitry inside the panel and saw a small red light blinking slowly, rhythmically, like a heart monitor. Atlas growled. Noah's pulse spiked. He looked closer. The light was attached to a transmitter, a tracker. Someone knew they were here. Far off in the rain, a siren began to wail. Not theirs. Dawn crept over the city of Hawthorne, soft and golden, washing away the bruises of the storm. The rain had stopped sometime before sunrise, leaving behind glistening puddles that mirrored the pink sky. At the Hawthorne Police Precinct, the air smelled faintly of coffee, disinfectant, and damp earth. Inside, the world felt hushed, as if the night had taken its noise with it. Noah Grant sat on the front steps, still in his uniform, its navy fabric darkened by the remnants of rain. His sleeves were rolled up, showing the thin scar that ran from his wrist to his elbow, an old injury from a warehouse fire years ago, back when he was still trying to prove something to everyone, including himself. Now, he didn't feel like proving anything. He only felt tired, the kind of exhaustion that comes not from running, but from caring too much. Beside him lay Atlas, his fur still damp, chest rising and falling steadily. The German shepherd rested his chin on his paws, eyes half closed but ears alert, listening to every sound in the morning air, a gull's cry, the distant hum of traffic, the slow heartbeat of peace. A faint pink ribbon was tied around his collar, a gift from one of the rescued children who had refused to leave without giving the hero dog something bright. The door creaked open behind them. Detective Sarah Quinn stepped out, a mug of coffee in one hand, a folder in the other. She looked different in daylight, the stern lines of her face softened, her auburn hair glinting copper under the sun. There were dark circles under her eyes, but her gaze was calm. She handed Noah the mug and sat beside him. "Long night," she murmured. Noah gave a tired smile. "Feels longer when the world changes before breakfast." Sarah flipped open the folder. "The kids are safe. Social services confirmed placement. Milo's parents are already on their way. They're flying in from Vermont. They've been searching for him for weeks." At the mention of Milo's name, Atlas's ears perked. Noah reached down, scratching behind them. "He's the bravest kid I've met," he said quietly. "Didn't even flinch when we pulled him from that cabinet." Sarah nodded. "Sometimes the smallest ones carry the loudest courage." She sipped her coffee, her voice lowering. "What about the transmitter?" Noah's expression darkened. "Bomb squad confirmed it wasn't explosive, just a tracker. Someone was watching. We're still tracing the signal." Before Sarah could reply, the station doors burst open. A woman and man hurried through, followed by a social worker. The woman's sob echoed off the walls as she saw the small figure waiting in the hallway. Milo turned at the sound, his eyes widening, disbelief flashing into joy. "Mom! Dad!" he cried. The reunion was raw, unfiltered. His mother, a petite woman with sandy hair pulled into a trembling bun, knelt and wrapped her arms around him, sobbing into his shoulder. His father, a tall man with calloused hands and a weathered face, bent down beside them, his voice cracking. "We thought we lost you, buddy." Every officer who passed through the lobby slowed for a moment, pretending not to watch but unable to look away. Even Mercer, stoic as ever, stood at a distance with his arms crossed, jaw tight. The hard edges in his face softened briefly before he turned away. Noah rose quietly, standing in the doorway as the family clung together. Atlas followed, his nails clicking lightly against the tile. Milo spotted them and gently pulled free from his parents' embrace. "Wait," he said, running toward the dog. His small feet splashed through the puddles outside the door. Atlas straightened as the boy approached. Milo stopped in front of him, breathing fast, cheeks flushed. In his palm, he held something small and round, a subway token, shiny and worn. "I wanted to give you this," the boy said, pressing it into the dog's fur-cold nose, "so you don't forget me." Noah crouched beside them, his throat tightening. "I think he'll remember you every time he hears a train." Milo smiled, but there was something knowing in it, a depth no 8-year-old should have had. "He already hears things we don't, right?" Noah nodded. "He does." Behind them, Sarah stood at the doorway, watching with quiet warmth. Nearby, Nurse Carla Jensen, who had stayed through the night to check on the rescued children, wiped at her eyes with the corner of a tissue. Her gray hair was pulled into a messy bun now, and she gave Noah a faint smile. "You know," she said softly, "I've been doing this 20 years, and I've never seen a dog look at a child like that." Noah glanced down. Atlas's eyes were fixed on Milo, calm, steady, unblinking, as if memorizing every line of his face. The moment lingered until Mercer's gravelly voice cut through from behind. "Grant, Walsh just sent word. They cracked the signal path. Whoever was watching you wasn't local. It bounced through 6 states, professional setup. Noah turned. You think it's over? Mercer shook his head. No, but you gave those kids their lives back. That's a start. His tone softened, something rare for the old soldier. Get some rest, Grant. You and that dog earned it. When the captain disappeared back inside, Sarah handed Noah a copy of the initial case report. You'll want to read this later, she said. The official file will call it an interstate recovery operation. But between us, you and Atlas just stopped a network that's been running for years. Noah folded the paper without looking. Then we didn't just stop it, he said quietly. We broke it open. The morning deepened into full sunlight. Milo's family prepared to leave, their car waiting at the curb. The boy turned one last time, waving from the window. Bye, Atlas. Atlas gave a single bark, low, resonant, the sound of goodbye. When the car disappeared down Hawthorne Avenue, Noah sank back onto the steps. Atlas lay beside him again, resting his head against Noah's boot. The air smelled of wet asphalt and possibility. Across the city at the Magnolia station, life had resumed. Commuters shuffled through turnstiles, the air filled with chatter and coffee steam. The street musician, Raymond Cole, stood in his usual corner, his saxophone gleaming under the sunlight. But this morning, his melody was different, lively, triumphant, full of unspoken gratitude. For a moment, the whole station seemed to pause. People turned, listening. No one spoke, but everyone felt it, the quiet echo of a story that had unfolded in their city, the kind of story that reminds you the world is still capable of kindness. Noah looked toward the rising sun. The light caught the gold badge pinned to his vest, making it glint. He leaned down, running a hand through Atlas's fur. You don't just protect lives, buddy, he murmured. You change them. Atlas didn't move, but his tail brushed the ground once, the smallest, softest sign of understanding. And as the first train of the day rumbled through Magnolia's underground tracks, a faint vibration passed through the streets, a whisper of connection between man, beast, and the lives they'd touched. Sometimes, Noah thought, heroes don't need sirens or applause. Sometimes they just listen to what the rest of the world refuses to hear. Sometimes, what we call coincidence is really the quiet work of God, a whisper that guides the right souls to meet at the right time. The story of Noah, Atlas, and Milo reminds us that miracles don't always arrive with light from the heavens. Sometimes they walk on 4 paws or speak through the courage of a child who dares to tap 5 times for help. In our busy, noisy lives, we often rush past those silent cries around us, the lonely, the lost, the broken. But God still places small signs in our path, waiting for us to notice, to care, and to act. May this story remind you that faith is not only in grand gestures, but in listening, in kindness, in the courage to stop and see others. If this touched your heart, please share it so more people can feel that same hope. Leave a comment to tell us where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories of grace, courage, and redemption. May God bless you and everyone who watches this story, and may you never miss the quiet miracles happening around you every day.